It is time for an August farm tour. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you on a very early August morning in 2021. This farm tour is going to be just a little bit different, and the primary reason is because we've gotten rain. So for the first time, you guys are going to be seeing the farm with green on it, where we don't necessarily want it. But then again, we also have plenty of green where we do want it. So let's go ahead and get started here at the front of the farm. So as you may or may not be able to pick up on camera, we got a lot of weeds on the ground because of all the water. The trees are definitely responding to the extra water that's been put on them, and of course the natural water. Here we are with our evergreens here, looking at the guavas. Back in the background, you'll see we have the pasture going. We'll get a shot of that here in a second, but want to take a look at the loquats that are really starting to come through here at the end of summer, and then back in through the citrus, which is finally starting to take off a little. We're coming around the corner here, and these are the hedge of our kumquat trees. This one's still fairly new in the ground. It's been in the ground for about a year. They do grow very slow, but lots of new growth and some flowering. Also, lots of fruit set and flowers in on a lot of these trees. So I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer. You can take a look at some of these fukushu kumquats, but this one is a fukushu, this is a miwa here, and then a centennial variegated there on the far side. So now we're gonna get a shot of the Western Orchard, one of our two real primary orchards. This is where we have all of our stone fruit. I'm next to a peach tree here in the morning. These peach trees are probably the most impressive, and they are pushing 7-8 feet tall here. These trees were planted about a year and a half ago. So just amazing growth, of course, here in the desert, and then with that extra rain that we've gotten over the last several weeks, they're just doing amazing. One of the things we've been doing with these trees now that they're bigger, I'm next to our nectarine plum hybrid here, is we're starting to remove the cages from where we were protecting the trees from the rabbits, and we're utilizing these plastic wraps around the trunk to keep the rabbits away from the trunk so they don't girdle the trunk. At the same time, you get no hindrance as far as the tree's growth is concerned. And the trees are definitely responding. This one looks incredible. One tree we get questions on from time to time are persimmons. This right here, I can't remember whether it's our fuyu or our chocolate persimmon. They're both doing really good, but we actually have a small fruit on this particular tree right here. So this tree went in the ground as a bare root here this winter, and it was just a stick. In fact, it was about that tall or so, and it's come to life here over the summer, doing just fine in full sun, and we've got a little tiny baby persimmon that's trying to fruit. Definitely won't let that happen. This tree is way too young. So, sorry, buddy. One last thing here on the western orchard before we slide to the back of the farm. These are our 2 all-in-one almond trees. You can see here after about 1.5 years, they're doing really well, and they look beautiful here at the end of August. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and slide to the back of the farm. Laura and I actually haven't seen the trees on the back of the farm here for a couple weeks, so let's go ahead and slide back there. First stop here on the back corner, this is one of our pecan trees. I don't recall offhand exactly which one. We have 2 of our 4 that survived, and you can see this was bare root, so just a stick in the ground here this winter, and it's grown into this beautiful tree. So of the 2, this one's doing the strongest, and lots of new growth that it's pushing out here. This is one of our black Pakistan mulberries. In fact, it's the one that has been under the most attack from ground squirrels here on the back of the farm. At one point this summer, this tree had 5 leaves on it, and they were 5 separate branches. That's all there was. And now we have just this massive, beautiful tree. It's got to be at least 7 feet tall or so. Lots of bushy growth that's coming out on it, and just looks amazing. Now, this is the smallest of the mulberries across the back of the farm here. So let's go ahead and head up into the air and take a look at the rest of these trees. All right, so Lori and I had a good time taking a look at these mulberry trees back here. They look great, but now we need to head back up to the front of the property and take a look at the eastern orchard. Just inside the gate from the back 40, and you can see our fig trees just look incredible here in August, and they do really, really well in the summer. Struggle just a little bit in June when it's really, really hot and dry, but especially with the rain, you can see lots of weeds that we have here on the ground, but then the figs themselves look great. We still have our Olympia fig that's caged. We're actually gonna pull that off today, but these look great. Now, this side of the farm, we have all of our pome fruit, so we're gonna take a look at a couple of different things, including some jujubes here that are just going out of control. Need to make a quick stop at our Violet de Bordeaux fig because we have a whole bunch of little figlets here. Very excited about seeing those. I've got several down here on this arm, got several up here on this arm. You can see the growth that we're getting out of this tree. You know, we were always told that the Violet de Bordeaux figs were really slow growing. This has been in the ground for less than a year. It was about that tall when I put it in the ground last, I think it was October or so. And you can see how well this tree's doing. This here is one of our Waddell Pears. We get these from Reed at RSI Growers in Glendale. And you can see this tree is just doing fantastic. We did come back and take the cage away and put the plastic wrap on there so we could kind of free this tree. But here at the end of August, it's got brand new growth pushing out on all the tips and starting to reach further into the sky. This one, got another one back in the background there. Several different Asian pears that are a little behind the curve when it comes to growth. But overall, these just doing really good. These are our spring apples here. What you see behind me would be our Golden Dorset, our Anna, and our Tropic Sweet apples. We also have some Einshammers just behind Lori here, and they're coming in really strong. All of these trees were planted last fall into this early spring, and most of them were basically about this big, and they were sticks. We cut them to whips about the size of my pinky finger, and some of these have just put on incredible growth here during the summertime. In fact, the one behind me here, I've got to show you a little bit closer. So you can see this particular Anna apple tree right here is just busting out of this cage. In fact, I think we're gonna remove this cage today. But the trunk itself is probably about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter. And you can see the tree is probably about 5 feet tall. Now this tree again, the trunk was about the size of my pinky and it was about this tall, just a single whip. By the time I was done pruning here in January, February of this year. So after just 6 or 7 months in the ground, this tree has gone bonkers. Now this one is an outlier. It's a little bigger than some of the other ones. I have some that are only maybe about 3 feet tall. So it does vary a bit from tree to tree, but the growth that we get on apple trees here in Arizona with the right rootstock is incredible. And again, these apple trees, we got all of these varieties from Reed at RSI Growers. He does a fantastic job with just the right rootstock. So this one looking really, really good. This will give you a shot here of our berry area. We have a Persian mulberry that's new in the ground. Put it in the ground this winter as a bare root. That's right here to my right. And then you'll see our berry beds and Shangri-La mulberries and also our contorted mulberries back there. Now, it's gonna be kind of hard to see the blackberries because of all the green on the ground. We have our runoff that comes from our outbuilding that has passive catchment and it's pushed down into this area here to add additional water here in the ground, and you can see just how much water the ground has soaked up. And then of course it's reacted by pushing out all of these weeds. But I'll tell you what, it's amazing to see how much green is on the ground that we did not put there here in the berry area. So I think we'll get a better shot and view of that from up above. I'll get a good shot of this from above, but this is our sorghum patch. This is the old pig area. This is where we were last raising our pigs here in the winter, spring of this year. We planted this sorghum out right behind them in May, and it's finally starting to get seed heads on it. Here you'll see our vineyard garden. Again, the view from above will be a lot better, but you can see how well all of the grapevines are coming in here along either side of me. Right here we have Thompson grapevines, and along this way we have flame grapevines. These are table grapes that we also make wine out of, but you can see these are newly planted here in the spring. So these were just sticks in the spring, and a lot of them bear root. In fact, all the flame were bare root. These were potted, but they were very, very small, and they're just going nuts here in the middle of summer. They love full sun, they love hot weather. You throw extra water down on top of it, and they really respond well. Now, our vineyard garden, the second part of that, of course, is the garden. Now, we don't have a whole lot planted here for the spring and into summer. However, we have a few things that have actually come in pretty strong. I'm actually here in our spring beds. These are the first beds we actually installed irrigation in here several weeks ago. We have a couple of sweet potatoes in a couple of the beds, but this particular bed is cowpeas only. And you can see just how much these are taking over this bed up onto our bird netting and just vining everywhere. It looks incredible. And again, just cowpeas. So the idea behind this is to infuse nitrogen into the soil that was in here. This soil was pretty much dead. Has very good structure, but pretty much dead. And you can see just how well these are doing here in the middle of summer. This is one of the pods, so these are dried beans. And we'll break that open. I've got, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, I've got 10 seeds there. So I think we only have, I don't know, maybe 2 dozen or so individual plants in here. So basically 2 pods would give you an entire bed. And there are hundreds of pods in this bed. So it just looks amazing. It's getting real warm here in the morning, but being down here, you can literally feel that it's cooler around all of these plants. So definitely giving us some ideas as far as maybe some arches we could put in here. Because can you imagine just having a tunnel of this that you could walk through between these beds? That'll be looking pretty cool here in the middle of summer. So in the other 3 spring beds that we have here, you can see we have sweet potato vines growing in here really well. We have greens that we can start utilizing now to cook with, and we'll have those available to us here until we have the fall beds ready to go and start getting greens out of those fall beds. So probably come back and harvest these, I'm guessing probably in November, right around November, maybe the beginning of December. So they still have a couple more months to go, create additional tubers under the ground for us. We're here on the pasture. We've got one of our 2 chickens left here. This is one of our Delawares, and she looks beautiful. Curious as to what I'm doing. But one of the things that we've noticed here with our testing in the spring through the summer is alfalfa actually does really, really well here in the middle of summer. And then when you get a little bit of water, it does fantastic. Now the chickens, I've watched them, they don't peck at the alfalfa too much. But they'll peck at the different grasses that we have down here on the ground in addition to the alfalfa. But overall, this pasture actually looks really good for August. And of course, we're going to be coming up here in a couple weeks and planting and overseeding this with our winter grasses where we get the rest of our livestock in. We do have more livestock that we brought onto the farm. In fact, turkeys for the first time. We have them still in the brooder. They're only about 4 weeks old. That's my seat. And we have the rest of our livestock coming back here this fall. So besides these girls, we have a lot more livestock coming here over the next month or two. And then of course, lots going on as far as fall planting is concerned. But of course, that's not today, that is another time. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. You know, today was a tour of the farm. We like to do these ever so often to give everybody an update. So we'd really love to have you as a subscriber and share the content. If you know anybody that's into this kind of thing, it would definitely helps us when you share the content. Our Amazon shop, I'll have a link down below for you. That is a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. What do you say, girl? You want to go back in? I don't think so. And Einsheimer apples that are all behind me here.
These are Einscheimers, right?
Oh, the Einscheimers are back there. They're not all behind me.
Nope.
Built out an area for them to go into. We have more. Girl, you are literally in the camera.